Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work, hard work. Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work, hard work. Hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work.
Fall in.
Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? What's going on? So y'all know who it is. It's me, the man, Trey the Commish, coming to you first formation morning sports talk. Just tapping in again. It's Friday. Still got a lot of stuff going on. I just almost rolled right off my tongue. The whole it's Friday. You ain't got no job. But it is plenty of stuff going on. Of course, we got the upcoming games as we look to get closer and closer to knowing who's going to be in the college CFP. NFL games, last night's game. Interestingly enough, last night's Thursday night game in the NFL, one of the most intriguing, more intriguing, better games for that most part. As we know, there's always been there's a rhetoric that the Thursday night games are trash, but last night Thursday night game was actually pretty good. So plenty going on as I walk with my man Cornelius Cole, the people's coach. What's going on, brother?
You got it. You got it.
So I know you probably got a little short time, so I definitely tap in first with the other subject in reference to the NBA. But before I get into the NBA, right, tonight's game, Pac-12 championship game, right? So what you have here is a game that puts the Pac-12's top two teams, because they no longer have divisions, top two teams, those top two teams being third-ranked University of Washington Huskies, and the fifth-ranked University of Oregon in the Pac-12. Puts them in their top five teams in the CFP also. At the same time, while we have this game going on, I see that Nick Saban says it would be disrespectful to not have an SEC team in the CFP.
It'll be disrespectful.
He said it would be disrespectful not to have an SEC team in the playoffs. So
what do you expect them to say? Like, they've been dominating that for a long time. You know what I mean?
That is it's disrespectful to say that. That's what it is. That's disrespectful. That's like saying that's privilege. That's privilege.
That's what I mean. They've been doing it the whole time, right? Like, it's been the CFP has been disrespecting the other conferences for so long that it is a privilege for the SEC. You know, like, if they had it, if the CFP had it their way, it would be all SEC teams. You wouldn't even have it wouldn't even be the other conferences. And we've seen that year after year. So I feel what Nick Saban is saying, but what he said, he fighting for his conference, just like the other conferences feel like the SEC dominates that, you know, the top four all the time. It's like,
so the words I'm hearing.
Okay, so look at this. So take the top 25, right?
Okay.
When they start off with the top 25, who normally has the most teams in the top 25, no matter what happens?
It usually is between the SEC and
the Big Ten.
Lately,
but look at this.
This year, even though it's not the same anymore, this year the Pac-12 had an essence of 8 teams almost throughout the whole year. They started out with 5, they went to 6, they went to 8, and then they dropped. Right now, I think they have 4.
But here's to prove my point. Look how many games LSU lost. They still ranked. Somehow they were still ranked. You know what I mean?
That's why I said the SEC. That's why I said the Big Ten is going to be the new SEC. Or it's going to be prep. Like, I really feel next year coming up, it's going to be a very exciting year when it comes to college football, based on the fact that there's a large amount when you look at it. Oh, you disconnected. There's an unprecedented amount of people. I mean, teams that are going to be now. You're going to have, like you said, you add. Look at what if you go off of what we have this year and add. If we go off of what we had this year and add the fact of if you go off of what we had this year and add the sense in adding a USC, even though they wasn't as potent at the end of the year as it was the beginning of the year, you add a USC, a Oregon, a Washington, and the UCLA that came on strong late in the year. That's going to be added to what already has Iowa, Michigan, and the Ohio State with a slight uh, Wisconsin here and there, maybe a Minnesota coming in. That's what you have at the upcoming Big Ten. Now, for of course SEC, you have the usual suspects in Georgia, Bama, Florida is suspect sometimes. LSU, add Texas and Oklahoma. It's going to be a little different, but I think now I think the Big Ten is stronger now going forward, and so just looking at that and hearing Nick Saban to say that it's going to be disrespectful to not have an SEC team in a CFP, I think that's very disrespectful because if y'all when the game was to be played, then that's what's going to happen. They're going to if they can knock off Georgia, they'll probably be that team in the CFP. If Georgia knocks off Alabama, they're going to continue. They're going to be that SEC team in the CFP. It lines up that way.
Well, this is what Saban really means by what he said. He's saying that if Alabama beats Georgia, they should automatically be in. That's what he's saying. He not worried about Georgia. He worried about Alabama.
True enough, but if like you said, if Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama probably will get in. It would, unless without a doubt that there's complete blowouts, unless Michigan blows out Iowa, either or Oregon or Washington blow out one another. Then you got, and then Alabama's able to beat out Georgia, then you're probably going to get that. You're going to get an SEC team that's going to be in there.
This is what I'm worried about, Trey, when it comes to that. Like, if Oregon beats Washington, which I don't think they're going to beat them tonight, I think the Huskies going to win again. But if they beat them, then you got to give all the love. You got to give all the credit to Washington. Like, they in. If Michigan wins against Iowa tomorrow, you know that they in, right? So if Alabama beats Georgia, then Alabama's in. But then that fourth team, like, if Texas wins the Big 12 championship, they can say, hey, we beat Alabama and we not in and we left out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Nick Saban is really setting up for. That kind of scenario right there. That's what he's setting up for.
The only team to beat him is in play as well.
Right. So Texas wouldn't, like, nobody. I think what the CFP going to try to avoid this year is another TCU incident where you get a national championship game where it's a blowout. Like, that's not fun for anybody. You know what I mean? Like, the semifinal games were good, but the blowout, nah. That's why I actually can't wait till next season or whatever. Yeah, when they go to a bigger pool of teams, so that way the top teams get in, and then you get to see them fight it out. That's gonna be a better scenario than these guys picking the top four. Some of the top four, Trey, I question them for years, but how do you pick between teams that got one loss? Like,
Like going forward, do you actually think that I think about it? Do you think the 12 team format is going to be good? Because what I think now I think about it, it's always like you said. Last year's semifinals was great. TCU and Michigan took it down to the wire. Ohio State actually had Georgia on the ropes and could have finished them. You know what I'm saying? In state, it was done. It was game, set, match. A field goal, a wide right field goal was what decided it. CJ Stroud played out I lights out. He had them on the ropes, you know what I'm saying? Haymakers and could have done it. And then you get so of course looking at that, you was like, oh, this is going to be a barn burner when it came to Georgia versus TCU. And then we get in there and it's just an utter annihilation. So it's true and concise that a certain matches just aren't going to be conducive to making a good game. So in that 12-man format, do you think it's possible, even though everyone is a champion for the most part, as well as a couple of at-larges, that they're going to be able to get the right matchups to make it where it's entertaining games? Or do you think we're going to more likely see more blowouts?
I think you're gonna see. I think you're gonna see more competitive games because when you go to look at it, the rankings. When you look at who the top 12 teams are right now, you could say legitimately right now this year you could say 1 through 8 probably deserve a chance to prove who they are. You know what I mean? Like the teams 1 through 8 right now. So I don't know about the next 4 teams after that. This year, I'm talking this year, but I know next year that 1 through 12 gonna be tough. Like it's gonna be tough to pick who's who going where. Your conference winners.
But think about it like this, right? In that scenario, and correct me if I'm wrong, a team like we said, going off of this year, Liberty will be in the tournament. Liberty will be in the tournament. Do you think? And I know you're probably going to chew me up for saying this, but do you think Liberty could be USC at the beginning of the season? The Liberty now, do you think could have beat the USC at the beginning of the season?
No, but the beauty of it is they're gonna catch teams when they have to play them. And also, what it's gonna do is, I think a lot of times it's too big of a gap between the games. So now going to that format, it's gonna reduce the gap. And so teams will be more prepared and more still in their groove a little bit. But I will say this. We always say anything can happen, but we know Liberty. Okay, I don't think Liberty could beat USC, the current USC. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just the truth. I just don't think they can beat them. But it's the same thing. Like, if you start getting like that whole conference. What is it? Conference USA, whatever, Tulane and stuff. Like, when you start adding them into the mix, I mean, it's good for their schools, but it's not really going to be good football in some aspects, like, because I don't think Tulane could really play against any of the other top 25 teams so much, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's going to always throw a wrinkle in, but other than that, but you will get the best teams, and it's cool that those teams get the spotlight when they do, because we know that as the tournament goes on, man, it's gonna get down to a point where now you got the best teams. But that's the only way you're gonna get the best teams and everybody happy and satisfied and stop griping is when you put them all in there, let them play, let the blowouts happen, because blowouts even happen in the conference championship games, Correct. So let the blowouts happen, and and then. Yeah, and let the rest get it. Like, it's like the NCAA tournament. Like, we know, like, a lot of times, upsets are rare when it's the number 1 seed going against like the number 15 or 16 seed. Sometimes, but they happen every now and then. But it's rare, but they happen. Like, so really you be looking at the middle matchups. Like those 5, whoever the 5th seed got to play and all that stuff. You get more competitive games. Right off the rip sometimes with those, but yeah. But this year, everybody knows what's going to happen. Somehow Michigan's going to beat Iowa, and Michigan going to win the national championship. I'm just saying that right now because, and I'm saying that because the mental toughness of those young players on Michigan, man, of the young men on Michigan,
Different
like
type of
they have
practice,
a
huh?
head coach, everything's swirling around them. They got a lot to prove. So I think Harbaugh gonna prove what he got to prove on his way out the door, because I think he gonna have to go back to the pros because they keep coming at him in college. So I think he gonna go back to the pros, but I think he gonna ride out. I think he gonna ride out as a national champion.
Okay. So do a little transition real quick. So last night there was a game that went on, and this is why I say the transition, right?
Go
Because
Cowboys!
because what it has been said is that a particular team that played last night does not have what it takes to beat teams that are above 500, right? And I would say I caught the glimpse of the game here and there, because I was at work and I was out on my way coming home and stuff like that. And I will say that it was a shootout in which I ultimately, honestly, did think that Dallas was going to lose, in which we'll talk about once we get to that point. At some point, I was like, it's Dak's fault. That's why I kept on saying it's Dak's fault. But it was a shootout. Uh, Metcalf showed up and showed out to a degree, but in any case, Dallas was victorious, winning 41 to 35, basically setting the tone for what needs to happen. San Francisco, if they take care of business, they sit up and put a dent in the armor of the Eagles, and now saying sets up for when Dallas pulls up, or the Eagles are going to Dallas, correct?
Yeah, this was gonna be in Dallas.
That's not looking good for the Eagles in that aspect. Dallas is undefeated at home. Um, Seahawks dropped to 6-6. That's not a good record to try to keep pace with San Francisco as they're starting to run away with the division. Real quick stats, and then we'll get into letting you sit up and gloat and glamorize the Cowboys winning. Geno Smith last night was 23 for 41, 334 yards. That's not shabby, along with 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, not a single sack. When he was about to get sacked, he was able to get the ball away. So he took care of business. He did his homework. Zach Charbonnet, 19 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. DJ Metcalf, 6 receptions, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 7 for 62 on the night. Tyler Lockett, 5 for 47 in contribution. Noah Fant, a couple of good catches, 3 for 41. And Charbonnet was 1 for 39. That set up one of those touchdown catches to DK Metcalf. On the other side of the spectrum, Dak Prescott, 29 for 41, 299 yards. He too had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. However, did take 4 sacks, loss of 24 yards. That snipped his passing yards. Tony Pollard got a touchdown, 68 yards to go along with that off 20 carries. He's starting to seem like a workhorse instead of his role as the scat back. CeeDee Lamb did get 2 carries, 30 yards, one of them in the rounds. Dak rushed for 23. Rico Dowd had 5 for 15. Lamb, 12 receptions for 116 yards with a touchdown. Jake Ferguson, 6 receptions for 77 yards with a touchdown. Brandon Cooks, 4 receptions for 44 yards with a touchdown. There's something I want to ask you about that too. Shoemaker was 1 reception. Tony Pollard had 3 for 15. KaVontae Turpin 1 for 10. The defense is really they can do anything, offset here and there. Of course, Deron Bland did get another interception. However, he didn't return this one for a touchdown. So in state, if you take off the Cowboy fan hat, are the Cowboys true contenders?
Yeah and no.
Okay.
Yeah, from a perspective of when they plan, they can play. I think they can play. You saw last night they could play the shootout game.
Mm-hmm.
But I say no only because we have yet, like, let's face it. Now the narrative gonna be, well, the Seahawks 6-6 now. They came in 6-5, so they gonna say but it was a must win for the Seahawks and not for the Cowboys. So big up to the Cowboys for pretty much hurting the Seahawks. Like the Seahawks got to play the rest of the season to, you know what I'm saying, to try to hold on to a playoff spot now. Because you got other teams on their heels, the Rams and all those, quite a few teams looking, and a couple of teams in the NFC South looking like they gonna challenge for that, for a spot. So for me, I say no because, man, if we can go and take this momentum, give me one more week. Let's see what we do against these Eagles. You know what I'm saying? Next Sunday, and then we might have a discussion. But until we can beat one of those types of teams, it's a no for me. And as a Cowboy fan, that's sad to say, but I just don't see. Last night you saw in that game, Michael Parsons did absolutely nothing. Like this guy's supposed to be all world. How come in all big game?
He did close the game out. Close the game out.
But they didn't block him. But they didn't block him.
He's like, why? And that's probably why they ain't blocked him. Like, he did that all day. We need to sit on somebody else.
No, they didn't block him because if you go back to that play, Trey, the tackle knew DeMarcus Lawrence was keeping. He was the only thing that came besides Bland catching an interception on defense. He was the only thing playing on D. DeMarcus Lawrence was the only one really getting pressure. You know what I mean? Like he got a couple of tip passes or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like he made a stop on 4th down, made a big tackle on 4th down on Walker, you know what I'm saying? Like it was D Lawrence. So the tackle saw Parsons wide with right next to D Lawrence. Good play by Dan Quinn to put them both on the same side of the field.
You make them have to choose.
He chose the one that was wrecking shop. He chose to block the one that was wrecking shop. You know what I'm saying? I mean, which made sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it made sense to me. But then Michael Parsons gets the credit, but he did absolutely nothing. I didn't call his name one time for tackles or nothing. Man, I was like, this is supposed to be our guy. Like in a game like that, what is Fred Warner going to do? In a game like that, what is Slay and them guys going to do for the Eagles? That's what I'm saying. Like in games like that, I expect the big name dude to really step up, have an impact on the game. Other than just one play at the end of the game where they didn't block you, you know what I mean? Where they just let you run free. So that's my problem with the Cowboys is that we don't all collectively come to play big games. Offense played well. I'm happy. Like my post was ugly win, but it was a good win. But I was nervous a little bit. McCarthy made a crazy call. I thought he should have took a field goal when he went for it on 4th down and CeeDee Lamb dropped the ball. I thought he should have kicked the field goal and took the lead right there. But I knew one thing was going to happen for sure. If you can get pressure on Geno been folding under pressure this year. I think Pete Carroll going to have to address that, man. He might want to look at whoever the backup quarterback is in certain situations because Geno was panicking. I mean, he was panicking. Like when the defense get close to him, look at some of his throws. It's like, like that's not NFL like throws that he makes with the pressure coming in his face.
So one of the things I said last night, in my opinion, was I thought Dak almost lost y'all the game. Yes, I'm finna break it down. In the red zone, under 2 minutes, y'all went with two. Well, it was pressure that actually Dak went with because of the pressure to where he went to 2 checkdowns in which they can yield y'all anything. Well, it did. I guess it did. It used y'all 7 yards between the two, just barely. It was 2 quick tackles. Then on 3rd down, Dak on 3rd and 3, Dak went with a double move by CeeDee Lamb. All y'all needed was a 1st down to close it out. Dak went with a double move on a covered CeeDee Lamb when he had 2 receivers. Ferguson was one of them. I can't remember who the other one was that was open for the 1st down, 3 yards. He went for a 13-yard strike on 3rd, as opposed to check down for the 1st down that could have potentially forced them not to use their timeouts that would have closed the game out. He did that. It was incomplete. Brung up 4th and 3. What y'all do? Y'all kicked the field goal. Now you're down. Now you're up by 6 points, giving the ball back with 1 minute and 26 seconds left. And which first out the rip, first pass, picked up what about 15, 17 yards to kind of lock it. And I was like, see, I was like, Dak the mess up. I was like, if y'all lose this game, it's because Dak went for CD as opposed to check down, first down, force them to burn their timeouts. What almost happened, of course, but then, like we just said, the defense buckled down, and they were able to be disruptive on the yard on the ball and force Geno Smith, as you just covered and spoke about, the pressure, and they were able to deflect and able to walk away with the win. But I really felt like Dak was really putting y'all. I was like, why? I was like, this is what we talk about when we talk about decision making. And I think Geno did something similar to that last night as well. So I don't know if you've seen that or not, or do you think Dak has put himself, now everyone's talking about a hot Dak. Is Dak hot, or are we talking about a one-hit wonder, or is he starting to lay out tracks that's looking like he's going to win a Grammy?
Well, we say the same thing all the time, right? Like when it comes to Dak, it's always a decision maker, man. It's the decision maker. We said this the last time when they played against the Eagles. Almost we could have won this if that, but the decision making at the end of the game, like remember the last time I was like, it's Dak with the throwing the ball to Schoonmaker, instead of going on the other side where dudes are wide open, where CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks got the better matchups. It's always Dak. There's some of the decision making, some of his decision making is never great in big games. We seen that time at the time. We saw it last year in the playoffs. We saw it the year before in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I can't say that we up there with the other teams until we can win some of those games, and Dak can prove that he can make better decisions in the red zone. In the red zone, especially because last night I thought he made a couple of mistakes in the red zone where we ended up taking field goals where they should have been touchdowns. Like if you saw the game, like the tempo of the game, Seattle was scoring touchdowns. We kicking field goals. You know what I'm saying? So 4 out of 8 in the red zone tell you that some better decisions got to be made down there. I think sometimes he hold the ball too long. I think sometimes he choose the wrong person to throw the ball to. And I think sometimes when he could clearly just tuck it and run it, he refused to do that in certain games. I don't know. But hopefully his decision making get better as this. We got some games left. Hopefully it gets better before the playoffs, because if not, then we'll be back out of the playoffs real quick. But it's more his decision making that has always costed us. So I'm not surprised. Like I was shocked that he would try to throw. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is not that tall anyway to try to throw that pass that he tried to throw. Like normally when you throw that pass, like I could see Geno doing that for a DK Metcalf, right? Because he can go up and probably get that ball, right? Go up and try to snag it. But yes, that's what I'm saying. Like Dak don't always make the best decisions, but luckily for us, defense finally showed up like three drives in a row last night, because the defense was getting cooked most of the game, and Dak did do enough to keep us in the game and score, but hey, that Seattle defense didn't show up either last night.
True. So it then also wasn't, like I said, I couldn't remember at the time with the one in which Geno, he did the wrong thing too. He said and tried to dump off to, I forgot who it was. It was a pass to the right, off to the right hand side, because remember they got down to the 50-yard line, and he went that play after that before the stand. He went to the right side for to hit the player, to where he had I think Charbonnet leaped out to the left side. It was wide open on a swing route, and he missed it. He missed him because he never looked that way, in which he probably would have gained. That probably would have put him around the 25-yard line. We might have had a different look as far as defenses, or maybe they would have went ahead with loading up the strong side and putting pressure and making them, like you said, once again decide. But it would have been different, because now you're looking at first down as opposed to a third down or a fourth down, and being able to make a play. So, but like you said, both teams for the most part didn't show up defenses wise. The best pass I seen last night was Geno fitting that ball in between two defenders for DK Metcalf's first touchdown. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I don't know how DK Metcalf was wide open on that back in the back of the end zone on his third touchdown. So it was like it just.
I know. Now that play was simple. The defensive players ran into each other. Number one runs into Gilmore, knocks Gilmore off pace. Bland was trailing. That's why when DK catch that ball in the end zone, Gilmore turns around and starts talking to his guy like, "Hey man, you knocked me off." You know what I'm saying? Like they ran into each other.
I think I seen the clip of that where, or even when they showed DK catching it, I saw once someone Bland was chasing him, but of course was no way within striking distance of getting to him. And then after the catch, I saw in the background the players turn around, and you knew, of course, it was a conversation about how he was open.
Yeah, they ran. Whoever number one ran into Gilmore, and that messed the whole thing up. That messed the whole coverage up. But you get that good play. To me, it was a good play call by Seattle. Crossing routes in the end zone. You get that a lot when people when people run into each other. You know, the defense, because there's only so much ground you can cover. The last thing I want to say about the Dallas Cowboys is McCarthy. Man. Like, he a good coach in my opinion, but he a good coach. He's not a great coach. He's a good coach. You know, he's not up there with the Belichicks and the Reeds. But and not an offense is starting to look. Not his offense is starting to look like, but his offense looks no different than Kellen Moore's to me. I mean, at this point, you know what I'm saying? Like early on, you can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to run the ball. That don't work. And I was screaming at the TV last night. I bring that up because I want to say, man, they still ain't figured out to let what's his name, Dottle or whatever, run the ball, get more touches at certain times than Pollard. Because since Pollard then got the bag, man, he don't even try hard. Like seriously, he don't even try hard. Like he try to play too cute now. Like he don't want to get hit no more and stuff. So it's like I was a huge Pollard guy last year and the year before. Now, like, man, this is the guy that, you know, like we could have kept Zeke if we was gonna get this type of production out of Pollard. Like mediocre production.
Maybe you feel like no one's to push him now. It's like he's good. He doesn't have to run that hard. He's going what's that? A page out of Zeke's book. Like, okay, I got the bag. I'm not being pushed. Okay, until someone starts pushing, it's like, oh man, maybe I ain't got what it takes anymore. So after last night's win, of course, now when you look at the odds, it puts Dallas in high regard. Currently expected a 99% chance of making the playoffs between them, the 49ers, as well as the Eagles. Of course, 97% for the Lions at this point, clinching the division. 10% chance for the Cowboys. Of course, we know that will most likely go up when it comes down if the Eagles are able to, if the 49ers can take care of business and set it up for the Cowboys to knock it out the park. But the Cowboys currently at a 19% chance to make the Super Bowl, with the 49ers and the Eagles pushing with 34 and 37%. Would you agree with these odds, or do you think there's a little more give or take on from your analysts? Well,
you know, I don't worry about what everybody else say because we all know the truth. When the playoffs start, every team in the playoffs got a 1 in 7 chance. You know what I'm saying? Like every team is 17, so it's gonna be a 1 in 7 chance, no matter what the odds makers call it or whatever, no matter how they look at it. Every team gonna have a 1 in 7 chance. So it's like whatever percentage that is, 1 in 7. That's what kind of chance we got, people. Like, but realistically though, just to break it down, like I said, we not on their level until we can prove we on their level. Cause see, my case in point is this: we had a crack at the Eagles before. Now we got to rely on, instead of us handling business against the Eagles and not have to rely on the 49ers to help us out to make it close, because if the Eagles beat the 49ers, then it's a moot point, right?
Yeah.
But why we got to lean on somebody else to handle the job when we had a chance to handle the job? I mean, you know what I'm saying? We could have took care of that. It is not a discussion, right? Then it's like, hey, Eagles come to our house, we beat them again, we do our thing, right? Like we take the division, but yet again, we find ourselves needing some help. I mean, weren't we here last year? Last year was the same scenario, right? Like the Eagles were that team, you know, and then we needed help for the division because we lost the early game. You know what I mean? So it didn't matter if we won the next game. I mean, you know what I mean? Like we got to stop putting ourselves in that position as far as within that division because the Eagles going to be around for a minute. And you see, we keep trying to challenge year after year. I'm hoping that we get over the hump, but man, like I said, like last night was a chance to come out. You had a week off. You know, you played. Both teams played Thursday, so it's no excuse that it was a short week. Both teams had the same amount of time to prepare, and I would have liked to see more from our defense in a game like that. Mm-hmm. But hey, a win is a win, no matter how you win. Like
a win is a win. So, last thing about the NFC and the Cowboys as well, since they had the spotlight last night. Now the Cowboys are most likely looking at the 5th seed. Do you think that's a safe? I know we just talked about how in the playoffs everyone has a 1 out of 7 chances. Do you feel comfortable with the Cowboys in the 5th seed?
Yeah, real comfortable, real, because that 4th seed is going to be whatever team comes out of the NFC South, unless a miracle happens. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at probably the Saints or the Falcons, and I think we can. And I think we can crush one of those teams, just like we did last year. Beat the Bucs pretty handily. I think that sets us up. You know, if we got to play wild card week, hey, why not let it be against a scrub team? I mean, because that's what it's going to be. So yeah, I like that 5th spot.
Okay,
the 5th spot. That avoids either playing one of those top teams or even the Lions, who probably looking like they're gonna get the 3rd seed somewhere in there. So that avoid going to Detroit or whatever and risking an upset. Like if we stay in that 5th spot. Like for us, the way I look at it for us, it's either the number 1 seed
or the 5th seed
or the 5th seed, because you don't really want to play. You don't want to go in as a 2nd seed and if you us and have to play whatever 7th team that just get in, because you know a lot of times those 7th seeds get lucky. So you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what happened to Minnesota last year against the Giants? You know what I mean? Like some luck involved in that spot.
Right now, 7 seeds you're looking at is Green Bay potentially at 19%, Minnesota at 20%, LA the Rams at 20%. I mean at 21%. Or even the New Orleans Saints at 7%, which is probably out. So any of those things, like you said, you're looking at it, can be a little. You would think, oh, it's not going to be a problem. You don't know what happens. Seahawks might catch fire, but that Minnesota, like the Rams with a Stafford, we're talking about a team removed, just 3 years removed from a Super Bowl, with the same, well, not the same core necessarily, but still with the same mindset. So yeah, that can be dangerous.
Oh yeah.
So moving on to the East, and then we'll go ahead and head into some NBA stuff. In the AFC, of course, we know ideally making the playoffs, 99%, high 90s with Kansas City, Baltimore, Miami, and Jacksonville. Remember, Jacksonville was in that same. No, it was the excuse me. It was the Chargers with the situation last year in which they end up falling up short because in the playoffs. Making the Super Bowl course right now, 30% for the Kansas City Chiefs, 28% for the Baltimore Ravens, and 22% for the Miami Dolphins. I would hate to see the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl situation, or even in that, because they might be a problem.
It ain't gonna happen.
No,
ain't gonna happen.
So, of course, looking at it, do you see a possibility? I know you're probably going to say, I think I know your answer because you think highly of Patrick Mahomes, of a situation to where Kansas City is not a number 1 or number 2 seed going forward in this upcoming playoffs.
No, Not number one. Number one, yeah, I see a possibility, but not number two. They already beat the Dolphins, so even if they tie the Dolphins, they get that spot, right? And you only really looking at three teams really. Well, and they beat the Jaguars, so you know what I mean. So yeah, you're looking at least number two minimum for Kansas City if they keep winning the way that they win it. Baltimore probably get the number one spot, but Baltimore got some tough games coming up. Like Baltimore struggles against Pittsburgh. I think they still got Pittsburgh on their schedule again. So like it's some games that Baltimore got that ain't no guarantee that they're gonna win. But I think the Chiefs got an easier schedule per se coming down the stretch. So I think Kansas City. I'm not saying it's gonna go through Arrowhead this year, but Kansas City gonna be around because, like I said, they already proved they can beat the Dolphins. They already proved they can beat the Jags, and they won those games ugly. It wasn't pretty games. It wasn't Mahomes balling out in those games. It was the receivers missing passes, doing all the things they've been doing. But that defense, the defense is the difference this year in Kansas City. They got a real one this year. They got a real legitimate. They've always had a good defense. I said it last year as far as like that team, like going into in the playoffs. I'm like, that defense is different when they get in playoff situations because they play good situational football and they make stops when they have to. But now they got a legitimate defense that can actually shut you out. Like they can actually hold you down now,
So real quick, then we can get the NBA, then we can get. I know you have high regards for today. So Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. Who you got?
Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. I'm taking the Colts all the way.
Even though they don't have Jonathan Taylor out with a broken finger,
Zach Moss gonna fill right in and handle business. Tennessee is a one-trick pony right now, and Derrick Henry looked like he done fell off a cliff this year. I like Will Levis, but I just don't think Tennessee really knows how to use. They don't know how to use him and Hopkins. They don't know how to use their weapons. Vrabel might be on the hot seat. He might be out of there.
Oh yeah. I think when I looked and see that Tennessee was without Taylor, I think he's really their engine for the most part. I think Tennessee. I think Derrick Henry stands up for what would have been the head-to-head of the top running backs from a couple of years ago. So I was going with Tennessee in that one. Los Angeles Chargers and New England Patriots.
Boo! I'm gonna take the Chargers though. Chargers.
I agree. I completely agree. Detroit Lions and New Orleans Saints.
I'm going with in that game. I'm going with. I picked the Saints. I want to say Saints? I picked the Saints. Yeah, I picked the Saints in that one.
The Saints, really? I think Detroit is. I don't know. It's in the dome, Superdome, but I just think Detroit possibly.
No, the Saints need the Saints have to win that game if they want to stay in the playoff hunt and they division hunt. They got to win. It's a must win for the Saints. I think they're gonna win that game.
All right, Atlanta Falcons, New York Jets.
All right, Falcons all the way, man. Falcons.
I think I agree. Arizona Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, of course, Zach Ertz cut. He asked to be cut. He's been released by the Arizona Cardinals. I wonder what's behind that, where he ended up as. What do you think this game ends up as?
Who did I pick? I didn't pick the Cardinals. They're not going to win that game. The Steelers are, even with no offense, they're a better team. The Steelers defense is going to win that game.
Miami Dolphins and Washington Commanders.
The Dolphins. The Commanders are junk, which is a surprise. All season long, that's been a surprise. I thought they were going to be tougher than what they are. But give me the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill has a big game.
I agree. Next up, the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans. This one's a hard one, honestly, in my opinion.
Now that was a tough one to pick, but I picked the Texans, and the only reason I picked the Texans is because I think CJ Stroud, I think he gonna pull a miracle out against. I think it's gonna be a good game, but both teams fighting for the same, basically fighting for a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm. I think the Texans are on a little bit more of a high. If this was a game in Denver, I would be going with the Broncos. But I think the Texans playing at home is ready to play and is going to take care of business. Carolina Panthers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Come on, man. Like the Bucks, it don't even matter who the quarterback is. They can line the running back at quarterback up against that team. Don't even matter.
Oh gracious. The Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Rams.
I picked the Rams because the Browns are on a downward slide, and I heard they probably starting Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco. If DTR can't go, Joe Flacco is the next up in which he'll probably get in. So yes, that's 38-year-old Joe Flacco.
Aaron Donald gonna have a big game. That's all.
Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers.
I wanted to go with the Packers because I see they get momentum, but I picked the Chiefs. The Chiefs gonna beat them because the Chiefs defense is better in my opinion.
All right, and we'll say Monday night for after the fact. The big game, San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh man, I took the 49ers in this game. I took the Niners only because I'm a Cowboy fan. I don't like neither team, but only because I'm a Cowboy fan and we need a little help. Like I said earlier, we need a little help. So that's the only reason I'm taking the Niners. I'm not going to be surprised if the Eagles win, though.
I mean, with truth be told, not me either. I mean, it's a toss-up game. I see the 49ers' odds makers put them as a favorite in this game. We'll see how it ends up coming out. Philly is at home, different type of weather, in which for me the elements always plays a factor. And it just might. We don't know what we're going to see there. So I'm very sure they're not going to come out with the same thing. Although they're different coordinators, all but it's got the same coach. We'll see how it goes. But the defense, San Francisco's defense is different. Hargraves probably got something to prove.
Yeah, I like y'all front four. And the linebackers. The opposite side of Ward, like y'all secondary gonna be questionable now.
Yeah, now. Ward, but if Ward can do to AJ what he did to DK, it's gonna be a long night for Swift and
but Hurt. I would actually put Ward on Devontae Smith and double team on the other side AJ Brown because Smith gonna have a big game. Like you can't stop them both. No team has been able, and Smith only makes catches when it's necessary. So so I think the opposite side of Ward, whoever Ward holds, the opposite person is gonna have a big game.
So, of course, going ahead, moving into the NBA real quick. Couple of games last night, but what's most interesting is, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers got smacked up by the OKC Thunder, 133-110 last night, in which after the game, LeBron had a conversation speaking in reference to his son, Bronny James, who has yet to be cleared, but is looking at possibly being cleared within the next 2 months for his debut game. LeBron James came out emphatically and stated that he's already informed his teammates that family over everything. And when Bronny gets ready to make his debut, he will not be at that game. Now, this game could potentially be against the Charlotte Hornets because USC and Oregon play the same day as the Hornets play. Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oregon State Beavers. Lakers against Miami Heat. USC against Cal, Dallas Mavericks and Lakers, USC against Arizona, or the Dallas Maverick and Golden State Warriors, USC against UCLA. Potentially, that was going to be one of the games in which the Lakers are going to be missing LeBron James. Now, I clearly understand that one man should not stop the show. But what would be your thoughts if you were a coach, owner, or teammate and you heard this from LeBron at this point in this juncture? What would be your thoughts? Or you agreeing with it?
It's LeBron James. It's LeBron James. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, but he the only exception to, if it's gonna be any exceptions to rules, it's LeBron James, man. Like I think he's done enough for the NBA and for the Lakers. You know, whatever team he's been on, man, he done enough for them to keep them relevant, keep, you know what I'm saying, keep the spotlight on them, that they can miss him for one game. You know, it'll be no different than taking a night off after a back to back because of, you know what I'm saying, you know, because of quote unquote rest. So it's no big deal.
True point. True point. I agree. That is so true. Last night, the Bulls were without both their top scorers in DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Interesting enough, they got a dub. What does that say to you?
That says that those other two guys need to learn how to play together better. If they can beat the Bucks without, you know what I'm saying, like without those two, imagine what they could do if they on the same page. But I think you got to ship one of them by the trade deadline. And like I said, for me, I know LaVine probably want out more, but for me, it'll be DeRozan. I would get rid of the older one. I would get rid of the older guy, keep the younger guy.
I seen some of the other day, one of the chat rooms where it said there's been a lot of course, up and coming talks about LaVine to LA, but that means losing Austin Reeves. Are you making that trade?
Yep.
Is it because you don't believe in Austin Reeves, or you believe more so in LaVine?
LaVine can take over the games, and LeBron will really, you know what? LeBron will really have some help instead of hoping that AD becomes more consistent. You know what I'm saying? Because AD is what he is at this point. You know, LaVine hungry too. Like he don't have. You bring in a player like LaVine, who he ain't had the chance to chase a championship, so you don't know what he, you know what I'm saying? It's about a chip there in LA. So I think that makes a difference, because if you're relying on Reeves, no knock against Reeves, but he really not that guy neither. He inconsistent. Like, you know, everybody had high hopes for this guy. You know, that's the problem with the young world today, is that, man, you have one little hot streak. One little hot streak don't make a career. Like, one little hot streak during the season don't mean that you the greatest thing since sliced bread like we do now. We overhype stuff. You know, we overhype stuff.
Insanity.
Yep. Same scenarios. It's like, and I'm not gonna be funny, but I heard this whole thing where they would say, man, with Pat Bev talking noise. I mean, first of all, Reeves is a way better player than Pat Beverly, by the way. But Pat Beverly talking noise about you, though, it's like, wow, you know, it's like, wow, Reeves, step up your game.
And it's like funny, like it. So what is, like, if people don't pay attention, in the last couple of years, the Lakers have had always only one Anglo-Saxon Caucasian player on their roster. The time in which Alex Caruso was there, he was only one. They ship Alex Caruso back out. Austin Reeves is replaces him. Now they done had other people. They had a chance. Mac McClung, he was there at one point. He got outlasted by Reeves. Of course, there was conversation about what about bringing Caruso back. Interesting enough, people didn't know or didn't realize. I don't know if you even realized, Alex Caruso was a first first team defensive player last year.
Yeah, no.
Under the radar.
Even with the guy taking a cheap shot on him, you know,
he was out. He was out like 18 games. Like,
really trying to ruin his career or whatever, you know. Which I think that was a person.
Alex Caruso, if you slipping, Alex Caruso will body you. So you know what I'm saying. So he's like,
I think it was a mutual white boy thing. Like, you know, like you can't get all the light, you know, for real. You know, I'm just gonna put that out there.
That's what that was about. Wasn't it Grayson Allen?
That's what I'm saying. That's what that was about. It was Grayson Allen. That's what that was about. Like, okay, but for real, Caruso, you got to, Caruso a champion. He was on a championship run in the bubble, and you got to think he
contributed where he contributed to. It wasn't he wasn't a scorer, but he did where he could do it at.
But he was cooking in the bubble, because I think a lot of it was at first it was underestimation, man. They were underestimating him, you know. And then once he showed what he could do,
the fact that you had to say in the bubble, like you sound like Bishop right now. Y'all in this bubble,
you know. what you want me to say? The pandemic year? I mean, I don't know what you know. I only pointed out. I only pointed out because you got to remember after that bubble team that the Lakers had, they never ran it back with that. They never ran it back with that team.
And they even that's Caruso even walked after that, didn't he? He even that's how he ended up in Chicago.
Kuzma, all these guys, like you lost a championship team, and most teams do what they can to try to at least keep some of them to run it back. You know what I'm saying? Like the Warriors won the championship, and they didn't get rid of Poole and Wiggins. They did what they could to keep them. It's like the Lakers did the opposite thing, and then they wonder
the whole squad go.
Good. Right. Then they wonder why they coming up short. It's like, man, you should have kept those, you should have kept those dudes just one, at least one more year to give it another good run. Like you don't see Miami switching up on what they got. This year they got rid of some players, but mostly they keep the most guys together. You know what I mean? Like, and try to win like that. Like, I think you can't build nothing. The Lakers, even though they made it to the Western, they made it to the Western Conference Finals last year, but they came up short because you relying on LeBron James too much. If you had Caruso and Kuzma and those dudes, then hey, they can get you buckets in meaningful situations. Whereas you seen what happened with D'Angelo Russell, he folded. Like, he was a no-show. AD he was in awe of the Joker.
AD got cooked. Let's just be honest. That Joker was cooking AD when Joker shook him and hit that follow away 3-pointer, and AD's like, "What do you want me to like? What do I do?"
He was in awe of him.
What can I do?
This is what I want you to do. Hard foul him one time. I don't know. I'm just saying, do something. Like, you ain't got a flavor foul him. Just hard foul him.
Marcus Morris.
Just let them know that you're there. You know what I mean? Just let them know.
Yeah, AD got cooked in that Western Conference Final. He was like you said at that point, when you see your man like this on a dude is like, what can I do? What do I do?
He would have been on the bench next to, if I'm Darvin Ham, when he threw his hands up, you're on the bench next to me.
And then looked at him like,
I'm gonna need some effort. But nah, AD, everybody not okay. Before I gotta get out of here, I just want to say this about Laker fans and people that criticize AD to the point that they do. You got to think all the injuries have taken a toll at some point. The dude hurt every year. So the injuries have caught up to him, and the Hollywood spotlight. Like, I always say that about certain people, like even Kyle Kuzma, right? Like, watch how AD dresses when he come into the game, man. He living the Hollywood life now. He wasn't like that when he was in New Orleans, when he was a Pelican. You know what I'm saying? Like, that winning that championship, that light, like, it changed his whole demeanor. Like, that's what switches up, And then same thing with Kuzma. Now Kuzma got a personality that you never knew he had in LA, right? After winning that championship and going to the Wizards, now I see Charles Barkley and they come in on his clothes all the time. You know what I'm saying? They come in on his lifestyle now. You feel what I'm saying? Like, winning championships gives you personality. It gives you the leeway. You know what I'm saying? I used to think AD was that kind of guy that wanted more than one, but obviously one is enough for him. One is enough.
It's not looking good, of course. But I mean, they're playing ball currently 11-9. I mean, they have an opportunity to be the first in season tournament champion. For the most part, as that looks to play out, as they start on the 5th, they play against the Phoenix Suns, who are kind of hobbled in a sense. So we'll see how that comes out. Real quick before you get out of here, because when you exit, what's good, Zach? What's going on, bro? Glad to have your information this morning. Hope you're doing well. What do we say about San Antonio? They have a bevy of nice young players. They have potentially, arguably, the rookie of the year in Victor Wembanyama, although I think Chet has something else to say. What's good, Jay? I was just talking about you the other day, man. I won't have to hit you up, brother. I'll have to hit you up. Arguably the player of the year. I mean, rookie of the year in Wembanyama. What do you think about the Spurs? How far off are they?
the Spurs are a long way away.
Mm,
A long
dang.
way away. Yeah. They just don't look good together. Um, I'm sorry. I really got to go right now.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Sorry to
I know
cut
you
this
got.
short.
Go ahead. I got you.
I'll catch you guys later.
All right, take care, man. Good luck on it. So, of course, like I say, we was talking about the Victor Wembanyama, Atlanta, Victor Wembanyama, and him having an opportunity potentially. How's that going? Or what's that looking like? Um, I guess it's just like anything else when you look at it. In state, you have a player that's a better player that's playing amongst other players and just highly regarded, and usually the team isn't as such. Can the Spurs resurrect what they had back in the yesteryears? Does every team have to tank in reference to be able to pick up more talent, or do you develop talent, which is more likely? When you take in consideration, when I look at a bunch of teams that has young talent, you have some that go left, others go right. Taking some I could bring up, the Minnesota Timberwolves, a young team with some veteran leadership here and there. They're not looking bad right now, currently in this time frame. Teams like Memphis, young talent, things just don't work out. But I mean, that could be a little minuscule for the simple fact that their best player who was out for 25 games, or is out for 25 games, and you continue to see how that's going to go. We'll know when he comes back. Maybe give him about 10 games to kind of get reinstituted and kind of and see can he at minimum start to lift them up to where they're a little more competitive as opposed to not being as competitive as was before. A team such as Brooklyn or even Charlotte, the youth movement in those organizations are providing a little something. Of course, in the Nets, Brooklyn Nets being 9-9, it's 500, but you know what I'm saying, it's not losing. And the Hornets, as they start to get instituted a little more, as they were starting to pick up, of course, a loss when they not Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball. Uh, he goes down for with his injury, another ankle injury. I think when you look at history, the last player that highly regarded player that was going down with ankle injuries was Steph Curry, and we all know what that ended up being. So, I mean, that could be a silver lining when we talk about that. Other teams, young teams that is like going left and right. The Thunder, a young squad playing lights out, currently 12-6 in the Big Bad West. Like I said, last night just took it to the Los Angeles Lakers. The score of 133 to 110. Definitely a different young team. But then if I tell you or say to you, what about the Detroit Pistons, another young squad full of highly top ranked, I mean correction, top drafted, highly drafted players, currently 2-17. They went winless for the month of November. So I mean it's all, I guess it's all in the, is it in the coaching? Is it in the chemistry? Who directs that chemistry? Is the chemistry building done by the coach? Should it be done by the players? Like, you know, saying, what's the formula for these organizations to get back on the winning streak? In essence, any streak, whether it's a young squad or the older squad, like, what's the formula? Remember, of course, the Hawks, they were able to pick up a win last night versus the San Antonio Spurs, as we spoke about. I remember one time we was like, "Oh, this is going to be a killer team." When you look at it, due to the fact that they had Dejounte Murray, Trey, uh, Trey at the point, um, it was just expected like they were going to be a problem, and not so much. They are at 500 this year, 99. I'm sorry, I'm talking about NFL, NBA, and I got NFL on the screen. Please forgive me for my omittance overlook. I'm sorry. There we go. So yeah, so you have that going on. So it's crazy how, you know, saying all that stuff tends to pan out when you start to take a look at it. Um, the in tournament is coming in game championship series is on coming up. Got the knockout round that's going to be first. After the knockout round, then we go to the semifinals, and then at the semifinal, of course, you got the finals. Um, I think on reserve till probably Monday. I think I'm gonna be back Monday. I might have a couple of guests on Monday as well. I'm gonna reserve that a little bit to comment on that. I want to do a little more look in depth to this conversation or reference to the in season tournament. Of course, in my opinion, they tried it out first in the WNBA, which has been going and had a little success. I think they was decided, hey, we're gonna go ahead and run it back. But in any case, a short show for today. Just as my man Cornelius had to jump off, I gotta drop off as well, so I can go. Got some things I gotta handle real quick. A couple of appointments I gotta get to, pick up some stuff as I get ready to shake a tail feather tonight on this hound. Be sure to be checking out and look for. Oh, before I go, if you're not doing anything, go over. You can check out the um, Shape Sports and Fitness page. You can go look at First Formation Facebook page and catch it right now. The streaming live of the Shape IBT, which I think the women's team USA is playing right now against Latavia, in which they've been going crazy over there. The women, especially with both men and women, have been very productive, but the women's team has been showing out. Of course, winning by 118 points a game, holding the opposition to 31 points a game. That's saying unheard of. But the men ain't too shabby. Of course, they've been winning by 105-point games of points a game, and then holding their opponent to 60 points. So clearly and concisely, both men's and women's USA teams for the IBT International Basketball Tournament shaped military sports have been clearly doing their thing. But that women's squad is shaking things up, but they should be on right now. Live streaming the game started earlier, so it probably should be on. Of course, later on today, the men, I think after the women's, actually, the men will be taking on France, who was the 2021 gold medal champions for the Shape tournament, in which they end up being the Team USA 70-77 in that game. So that's an open opportunity. Go check that out if you're not doing anything. Keep a watch out for as they get closer and closer to ending that tournament and watching potentially both USA men and women to walk away with gold medals. Additionally, if you're in or around the San Antonio area, you got the matchup again, the Rangers versus the Skyhawks. That's Fort Sam Houston, JBSA Fort Sam Houston versus JBSA Lackland Air Force Base is going down today, December 1st. If I have already plans, I will be tapping in and checking that out. So be sure to get in and check that out as well. If you're in or around the area, I'm very sure someone, if I was there, I'll be streaming it, so y'all would be able to check it out. But in any case, it should be going down. So it's that time of the year. If you're into military sports, military basketball is up and running. I know the Military Basketball Association has a lot of stuff going on. If you've been seeing their posts, you already know they're going to be in Philadelphia later on in 2024. I believe they got plans for a tournament, a Martin Luther King tournament on the west side, in or around Las Vegas, I think, in Nellis. Additionally, they have an upcoming 10-team tournament that's going to be pulling up at Fort Buchanan in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. Hey, so a lot going on. So be sure to tap in and hit those, check out those pages. Of course, Joe Hall Classic coming up in December, just a week away. I'm pulling up there. I'll be there. Hopefully my man Bishop will be able to pull up with me. Additionally, also, as we all know, the granddaddy of them all, the military basketball, the National Military Basketball Tournament, as that continues to go on. So a lot going on military basketball. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know how it go. I'm Trey the Commish. I'll holler at y'all. Enjoy y'all's day, your weekend. Peace.